The strongest women I know do not chase balance. They build rhythm. They've learned to read their signals like metrics, knowing when to rest, when to rise, when to reset. That is the new loop of discipline. Listen, translate, regulate, repeat. Listen, translate, regulate, repeat. This is the kind of intelligence that compounds quietly until one day what used to derail you now directs you. Welcome. You're not unmotivated, you're just unregulated. This is a video essay about how emotional control is greater than motivational hype. Introduction. Why motivation keeps failing you. Every new January, every new Monday, every moment of this time I'm really doing it begins the same way. But a burst of motivation that feels electric until it doesn't. That first rush is intoxicating. New goals, new Pinterest boards, new routines. But a few weeks later, the spark flickers. You start negotiating with yourself, wondering where the energy went. What most people call laziness is usually just a nervous system running out of charge. Motivation spikes your adrenaline, but regulation preserves your rhythm. It's not that your willpower is weak, it's that your internal battery never learned to recharge. The body cannot sprint its way through a marathon, yet we treat ambition like a constant sprint. Most women don't have discipline issues. They have bandwidth issues. The world is louder, faster, and designed to overstimulate you into exhaustion. You're not broken, you are flooded. And in a culture obsessed with chasing highs, the real edge isn't in doing more. It's in learning to operate calmly, consistently, and sustainably. Because regulation, not hype, is how grown women sustain greatness. Point number 1. The myth of motivation. You don't need a high, you need a habit. Motivation sells you the illusion of control. It feels like alignment, that intoxicating surge when everything suddenly seems possible. But what you're actually feeling is adrenaline in a pretty outfit. It's chemistry, not clarity. And once the spike fades, you're left searching for another hit. That's why so many new beginnings collapse right when the real work begins. Motivation isn't a strategy. It's kind of like a sugar rush. The nervous system wasn't built to live in perpetual acceleration. Each surge of excitement depletes the very focus you need to sustain momentum. When you chase constant motivation, you train your brain to equate urgency with importance. And over time, that confusion burns out your internal compass. You stop asking what matters and start asking what feels exciting. The first question builds mastery. The second builds exhaustion. True consistency is not emotional, it is architectural. It comes from structure, rhythm, and rituals that keep you steady when your emotions fluctuate. Think of motivation as the spark, but regulation as the engine. It's what allows you to move through resistance without collapsing. The women who keep their goals alive for years aren't chasing intensity, they're calibrating their energy. They've learned that routine is also a form of freedom. That is the quiet irony. You don't need to feel inspired to act. You need to feel safe enough to stay. Safety is what lets the nervous system trust repetition. And once the body trusts the rhythm, discipline stops feeling like force and starts feeling like flow. The myth is that you'll always feel driven. The truth is you rarely feel the same, but you can still act the same. Consistency of great behaviors is the DNA of excellence. Point 2. Regulation equals authority. Composure is credibility. In a world that rewards reactivity, emotional regulation has become the new executive edge. It's not about being detached or robotic. It's about being rooted when everything around you is speeding up. Modern overstimulation doesn't just exhaust your mind, it scrambles your internal signals. The body, flooded with caffeine, cortisol, and constant inputs, can't tell the difference between a deadline and a danger. What looks like procrastination is often paralysis. This is why so many women misdiagnose themselves as undisciplined, when in truth they're just dysregulated. Key the title. Your system is not failing you, it is asking for rhythm. Every burnout cycle, every crash, every emotional spiral is feedback, not a failure. A sign that your pace has drifted away from your capacity. Regulation is how you realign. It is the strategic art of energy management, knowing when to accelerate, when to recover, and when to protect the bandwidth that keeps your judgments sharp. Real authority does not come from intensity. It comes from composure. And in a world this noisy, composure is worth more than pure charisma. Attention spans have collapsed. Even focusing long enough to finish a video like this puts you in the top percentile of discipline. Why? Because the leaders who can stay present through distraction, even at 60% capacity, are the ones who win in a flooded economy of attention. So when you practice even the smallest acts of regulation, like a breath before you reply, a pause before you scroll, a walk instead of a spiral, celebrate them. Gentle parent your progress. Calm is hard now, and it's exactly why it counts more. It's no longer just emotional hygiene, it's your competitive advantage. Point 3, feelings as data, not destiny. The new loop of discipline. Emotional literacy is not a soft skill, it is a power skill. The women who can read their inner weather can outlast any external storm. Every feeling you have is information, a message about what your body needs, not a verdict on who you are. But most of us were never taught to translate emotion. We were taught to perform over it. We've learned to label exhaustion as weakness, irritability as failure, and sadness as regression. And in that confusion, we lost access to one of our most important intelligent systems, the body. When you start treating your emotions like analytics instead of interruptions, everything shifts. Feeling tired is not a proof that you've lost drive. It is a signal that your system needs recalibration. Feeling unmotivated isn't a loss of purpose. It's a cue that your nervous system is in protection mode. Once you stop moralizing your moods, you start regulating them. That neutrality, the ability to observe without judgment, is the foundation of building your emotional range. Emotional range is what separates burnout from mastery. The women who sustain progress do not eliminate their emotions, they integrate them. They know how to pause, assess, and translate. What is this feeling trying to tell me? That question turns chaos into clarity. It transforms emotional noise into guidance. The strongest women I know do not chase balance. They build rhythm. They've learned to read their signals like metrics, knowing when to rest, when to rise, when to reset. That is the new loop of discipline. Listen, translate, regulate, repeat. Listen, translate, regulate, repeat. This is the kind of intelligence that compounds quietly until one day what used to derail you now directs you. Conclusion. Practical practice, regulation in real time. All of this, from nervous system regulation to emotional literacy, only matters if it becomes practice. Regulation is not an idea. It is a skill built into micro moments of your life. You do not fix burnout in a week. You rewire how your body moves through stress, one decision at a time. The goal is not perfect calm. It is consistent recovery. So, how do you start regulating? Simple. You start small and you stay consistent. Here are a few activities that I listed below that I think would be helpful. Number 1, micro check-ins. Ask yourself 3 times a day, am I overstimulated, underrested, or emotionally flooded? Activity number 2, you rebuild rituals. Things like breath work, meditation, cold showers, slow walks, sunlight before screens, candles, dancing, things that really kind of reconnect you back with your body, your mind, and kind of interchain them all together. And number 3, audit your inputs. Less caffeine, less alcohol, less doom scrolling, fewer emotional downloads from draining people or environments. And I would also say what you're consuming in terms of culture, the movies and books you're watching, the type of foods you're engaging with. I would also say like your planning, how do you perceive your sense of self, like your optimism? Are you excited about the year ahead? You know, all of these things feed your mind to allow you to really feel rested and excited and calm within your nervous system. Each act trains your nervous system to feel safe enough to work, create, and connect again. Again, even the act of watching a video like this far, and thank you, is proof that you are capable of regulating because it means you can stay. That is emotional wealth, the ability to remain grounded while the world stays chaotic. So remember this, motivation fades, but regulation scales. And the women who master that difference will outlast everyone chasing temporary chaos. I hope this was helpful, and take care.